It's an old adage which says, take your chances and you will win the game. However, we didn't quite do that today. Again, we've got a draw. Ipswich 1, Leicester 1. Anil, what are your initial thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I'll give you another cliche. It's a game of two halves. I think first half we were great. I felt like we made Ipswich chase shadows, had control of the ball. They only really looked threatening when we made a mistake or through some kind of physical battles. But I was really impressed. I thought to go away from home and put in a performance like that, it's looking good. Second half, the game got scrappy. Again, we had some more opportunities. I felt like we played a little bit with the handbrake on, and I think it was intentional. I think it was kind of stick or twist, and Enzo decided to stick. Mm-hmm. Some people are questioning the substitutions because I don't think any of the people that we brought on made us look better. That said, I think we only had a game a couple of days ago, so you do need to rotate it and keep it fresh. In the end, we concede, and it's just, I didn't really... I did kind of feel like it was coming, but at the same time, I don't think it was just like, hanging on for dear life kind of thing. At the same time, they were starting to knock on the door. And yeah, look, I think we were just discussing it off the air, like probably a question back to you. But before the match, if you said you could have a point right here, right now, would you have taken it?
I would have.
Yeah, I think I would have too. So
considering what happened in the Ipswich game, in the Leeds game, it looks like, again, we'll get into the table and positions and things at the moment. But looking at that, it's obviously changed things. But we are on, we've got 11 points gap of third. Let me bring this up at the moment.
Which is now Southampton, isn't it? That's the big news.
Yeah, not Leeds now. It is Southampton. Yeah. So, and again, down from them, we're still 15 points. 14 points ahead of fourth. And then it drops off to West Brom and Sunderland. But so we are in a decent position coming into this game. But
it's an incredible position. I think you don't have to even sugarcoat it. That's why I would have taken a point, because at the end of the day, all you really need to do, to be honest with you, even right now, I could say the same thing, which is when we play them at home, again, if we were to draw with them, it is still probably a good result. Same with Leeds. If you get a point, it's probably a good result. Like, Leeds proved today that, like, even if you beat the team at the top of the table who is above you, the next week you've got to get the points there. It's just all about, it's a grind, the championship. It's like, it doesn't matter who you're playing, it's just get the points on the table. You can drop them to anybody. Like, the teams that we've dropped points stupidly to have been Hull, have been Middlesbrough away. Leeds, that's a big team. That could happen, but they're the kind of done. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, I think, it's still a fantastic position to be in. It would take one hell of an upturn. To be fair, I think we've got to have a look at Southampton, because by all accounts, they're on like a 16-game unbeaten run. And, well, you got to give Russell Martin a lot of credit there. We outplayed them again. We got to play them at home. So that's a game that, could see us dropping some points in as well. But look, the thing is that you can kind of drop points. It's not the end of the day if we do. We just got to keep picking them up, and it'll be hard not to. Like, from here, it's from 58 points, is it, on the table there? Or 59 have we got? We got 59, right?
59 at the moment, yeah.
I mean, you get 40 more points, you get 99 points. That's going to get you promoted. Maybe it won't get you champions, but it's definitely going to get you promoted. So there you go.
But it's still in a very, very strong position. Very much, still 6 points clear of Ipswich.
Yeah, but well, look, I think we should start going through the game. But I do think that one thing, though, is that Afcon is coming up. And that is still a little bit of worry, because we're going to lose some key players there. And if we look at it, it's some of the people that came on didn't do that great. So, well, anyway, let's start going through the game.
Let's go through the game again. So again, in terms of, we'll start where we always do at the beginning, formation. So again, my little thing that I was just putting together in the background. Let me put this back. It's a little bit out of whack at the moment, but you can see what I'm trying to do. So this is how we set up. Again, if it's not, I think I tweeted out beforehand, if it's not broken, don't fix it. The only thing that really changed is Cody coming in for James Justin and Fast moving over to that left-hand side. We'll get on to the back three in a second, but coming into the game and how Cody played in that position, how do you think he did in today's game? Because personally, without trying to spoil the limelight, I think that was the best game that Cody's had for us since he started for us.
Really? Oh, okay. I was going to say that I would just give it a steady Eddie, kind of even things. I think he did some things that were good, some things that were not so good. Look, to be fair, I think defensively the team was pretty good today. Like, even the goal at the end, that's so unlucky. It's like double deflection. What can you really do there? So that's just the kind of sake of it. Otherwise, I think the whole team, the whole through the game, defended really well. Hey, Santa's in town. Well, I obviously wasn't good enough to use Santa
otherwise
because
going to go in the closet for the next 10 months.
Yeah, you got me 3 points against Rotherham, but not against Ipswich. So I'd obviously have to be a nicer guy next year. There you go. Yeah, I think defensively he was good. On the ball he was okay. Maybe could have done better. But he'd be steady. Like I said, I think neither good nor bad, just decent display all round.
Fair enough. I was really impressed with his ability, his positional play. I was quite impressed with. Also his ability to thread a ball through to midfield, which I've not seen him do. That's why I'd give him kind of, it's the best games he's played for us so far for that exact reason.
He tried a few switch balls as well. Like I think, to be fair, maybe that is the reason why he was put in the team, because that did seem to feel like we were going for it more than we had done in previous games. But he weren't hitting the target as often as I would like. I don't think he did I want to make it clear, I'm not saying he did a bad job or even that he played badly, but was he like so amazing that like he'll displace JJ? No. I think the TLDR is that he's probably better in the middle of the three, but he's not as good as Vestergaard in the middle of the three. And I think with JJ, because he's done his ACLs twice, they're probably just thinking, look, we don't want to overload this guy. What's the point? We don't need to overload him, so let's not do that. And I think you'll find that James Justin, from now on, when he plays at Leicester, will only be like a 1 game a week player unless we've got injuries and he has to come into the team. That's my suspicion there.
Yeah, and also I agree with you. I think something else, I was reading an interview today with on the Athletic about Enzo Maresca, and he was mentioning that JJ plays best when he's bombing up and down the wing like he did at prime when Brendan Rodgers was before his injury, when he was getting the England call up, playing that. I think Tommy Asu does something very similar as well, where he plays for Arsenal, very deep, can defend, but can also get right to the byline and support in the attack as well. Now, the way we play doesn't really suit that format. It doesn't suit that kind of player. Granted, he's adapted that well, but I don't think. But we'll be interested to see what he does in the summer, because I'm really interested. Because again, who's going to pay his wages, but also what role do you think he's going to play in the team? But I think
I mean that's why Victor Christensen left, didn't he? I think Enzo had a problem with him, but he said, I want to make you a left-sided centre back stroke left back hybrid. And he was like, it's not for me. I would rather just play my position. But that's an interesting question, because the thing I would say is so many more teams are going that way now. They're playing inverted fullbacks. Like even in the Championship, Leicester's not the only team that plays inverted fullbacks. Played against a team today that, well, they don't kind of do it, but they do something similar to try and do in the build-up. But Southampton do it, 100% they do it. So, I look in the Premier League, more and more teams are trying it as well. So, I don't know. You could say that it's a good way to future-proof your position if you can learn how to do it, or players are kind of more adaptive type of thing. But we'll see. As you say, it depends on what he wants to do. I do think with JJ, he'll always be a valued squad member. And I think it depends with him does he want to be an Albrighton or does he want to be a first teamer? I still think that even next season, he's the sort of player that I think would get 15 to 20 starts. That's quite a lot. But you might want to have 30 to 40 starts, to be fair. That I'm not sure he'll get.
But with his injury record as well.
Yeah.
Is he going to be away? So again, how much more can he play without potentially going into and getting another injury? So again, it's an interesting one. But coming back to the game, the way we set up, again, it's kind of what I expected. The game started quick and ferocious. However, in the first 15 minutes or so, both teams were going at it. Leicester did look the first on top for the first 50 minutes. I noticed Pereira was playing in that high 8 position a lot more compared to what was normally played. But one person I have to shout out, and because he will get mentioned, and I will mention him later on as well, Mavididi was scaring defenders. And we've said this sometimes, of like, this is the substitution in the summer that we're least excited with of a permanent signing. We're seeing him come on to another level, and he's going up a gear now, another gear.
Yeah, he was our best player today.
He looked scary. He looked genuinely scary, considering that's a very well drilled and well defensive Ipswich team. They were in the second half. They actually double marked him at times, but in the first half, they didn't really know what to do with him.
Yeah, I think he had a really great game, not just the goal, but all around. As you say, he just always looked a threat. Yeah, we were jokingly texting you halfway through saying, Neil, what did you rate Steffi Mavididi in the Luke's review. I was going to bring it up and be a troll,
which
but
is down in the which is the
yeah,
first
yeah.
link in the description. So
But
make sure after this video, go watch that one. So
yeah,
Arnold did a fantastic job of hosting that.
As we drew, I will reserve judgment on that one. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he's been our best player, even better than Daka, to be honest with you. Even though Daka's getting a lot of the plaudits for scoring the goals, I think the person who's just looking, as you say, like basically now he does look like a Premier League player in the Championship. He does look like an unfair cheat code. I think any team would want him the way that he's playing. So well done the scouting department. Well done to the player as well for being that good. So that was really good. But yeah, kind of coming back into the game. So I to be honest with you, I would slightly disagree with you. Like, I was a bit surprised that I don't think they came onto us as relentlessly as I expected. And I also think with us, we didn't go at them as relentlessly as I thought we might either. So when we saw Leeds play them, what Leeds did is they really pressed up high and got in their faces and made it so they couldn't pass their way out. And they did it from minute one. And it meant that they could never get going, which is why they capitulated. In this game, we didn't quite do that. We started the press more like the one that they were targeting has got a guy called Sam Morsey, who's like their equivalent of Harry Winks. So when he picked up the ball, that was the one that they were either trying to block him or block his passing lanes. So they were like allowing the pass to go into him, but as soon as he got it, they were like, okay, now what are you going to do with it, right? Try and panic you a little bit. So to begin with, I felt like in the first 15 minutes, it felt almost like we were playing more of a counter-attacking style rather than wanting to get control of the ball. But I think to be fair, and this is the thing that was most impressive in that first half, we just started turning it up and up and up. And then what happened is they couldn't get the ball and we took control. And I think that's what was so impressive about seeing it. I was thinking normally when it's first against second, you'd expect it to be a tight game and it could be determined on details. Ultimately, it did, because at the end, the reason that we haven't won the game is like an unlucky, deflection. Whereas I personally still think overall we deserve to win. But what I was saying is they couldn't get hold of the ball. It felt like they were chasing shadows. We were popping the ball. I will say one thing that was interesting is that George Hurst, who's the next Leicester player, he went down with an injury and it kind of broke up the game. I don't know if you saw, all the players went over to Maresca and he was having a dig at a few of them. And after that, I felt like for the rest of the half, we had total control. So I feel like he issued some instructions there. If I could go back, I'd look at it and see if anything changed. I don't think anything fundamentally changed other than people were doing a bit closer to attention in terms of what they were doing. But then what was happening is that, so their tactic, and this is the reason why, you and I were so excited to get Enzo at the start of the season. The modern way of playing is high press football, right? So that means a really good team these days, you need to be able to play out from the back. You need to be able to absorb that press and play around it, because when you do, it's going to make gaps and spaces. And we were so good at doing that. In fact, I think we were good at doing it the entire game. Our back to front play is almost elite. It looks like, to be honest with you, it's better than a lot of Premier League teams, right? The only thing that we're missing, even though we are the joint top scorers in the Championship, and we would have been top if we hadn't conceded right at the end there, is that I do think the only thing we're missing is that final ball. Because, for example, both Leeds and Southampton have beaten teams 5-0, and we have not put 5 past anyone yet, right? But it's like everything that we do, if I had to mark the team, it's like, doing a maths equation. It's like everything is perfect except the last bit, and the number isn't quite right. But you'd be like 8 out of 10, you're almost there, you're almost amazing, but you're not quite there. So that's when we'll hit top gear. That said, the first goal was fantastic. Like Patson Daka, take a bow, because he did a lot of good link-up play there, turned beautifully, played the ball into Mavadidi. And both him and Fatau need to be scoring that type of goal more often, which is what you take one touch, put it onto your stronger foot and bend it into the top corner, right? Mahrez could do it. Any inside forward, they will practice that every day, at least probably 20-30 times, right? It's their bread and butter. To be fair to Mavadidi, he scored 2 of that goal in the last 2 games, because the last one it was a deflection. Oh no, so not against Rotherham, but the game prior to that, the last away game that we had, the Birmingham, right, where it took the deflection but it went into the top right hand corner. So yeah, he's getting good at that. And with him, he should be getting that opportunity at least twice a game minimum. Against the weaker teams, even better than that. So I think he's turned the corner, and I think there's a very real possibility he's going to end up the season as Leicester's top scorer, actually, because he's so good that he could get it. So that was good to see, and we kind of kept feeding the ball. But yeah, Fatau needs to start scoring that goal as well. Like, he gets it on his left foot a lot as well, and he's not testing the keeper or putting it in the back of the net. But I think the good news is that, like, you can practice that. And one of the best things, like when you're teaching a forward, is that sometimes if you've got too much to think about, it's difficult. That's why actually being a striker can be tough, because you've got to do all different types of finishes. And as soon as you get the ball, you've got to be based on where the keeper is, based on how I've got the ball, what am I going to do? And I've got to keep my composure. But quite often with the inside forwards, you kind of don't even need to think. It's just you'll get put into a position where you can just do the thing that you've practiced 100,000 times over and over. And that's why they tend to see, Arjen Robben was probably the best at this. Like, he was one-footed as hell, but when he played for Bayern Munich, you're not stopping him. He's going to get the ball, he's going to cut in, and he's going to put it top bins. And he did it time and time and time again. So that was great. But yeah, just talking about that half, I was super impressed. And I was just a bit frustrated that we didn't score another one. I think, to be fair, there was a moment, it might even have been before we scored, where I think Conor Cody should have given away a penalty. I think he was lucky to get away with that. Like, when it hit him, his hand was not in a natural position. And, I think he could have got it out of the way. So, to be honest, I think in the Premier League, they've been given on VAR. That said, I think KDH in the second half should have got given a penalty as well.
We'll get onto that in a second.
Yeah, so we'll come that later. But yeah, story of the first half, I was really, really pleased. I don't think they had the shot on target. We had way more possession in the game. And the only disappointing thing, I put it in our group chat, was that I felt we should have been 2-up. And it's a bit unfortunate that we weren't, because I think if we would have done it, it would have been game, set, and match. But otherwise, that half was almost perfect, I think, from our perspective.
I'm with you, and I think it's the best half we've had in a game in terms of normally we go into games. I was interested to see coming into the second half, because normally, for example, give the Rotherham game, for example, we're all a bit disappointed. We can understand what he was doing. It was very slow, a bit lethargic, wasn't quite linking up how we wanted. Then second half, we come in and we go bang. We're going direct. We're going to try and hit the football as hard as we can. I was interested to see what he did coming in second half, which I think I put. I'll put in, I think, another one I'll mention later on. I was like, I'm interested to see what he does second half. But just before that, coming into first half, we ended it really strong. I think Ipswich did turn it on a little bit, and I don't think we quite dealt with it towards the end of the game, which I was glad to come in. But there were so many good things to mention as part of that in that first half, as you're mentioning. We'll just get onto the goal as well. So it all starts with, I think Cody actually starts with the ball, links up quite nicely. Daka lost the ball in places, hits the ball at the keeper, I think, where he probably should have hit the target, a little bit better opportunities. But in this move, Daka's first touch gets past the player, looks the vision to see Mavididi out wide, and Mavididi slots it home. Was it completely top bins? No, but at the end of the day, we take it because really beautifully played goal for that first position. And I think that the pick out was great from Ndidi, from Daka. Mavididi's finish was good. The keeper could have been better, but we're nitpicking at that point, because I think I had one of those moments where I put my hands on my head. I was like, oh my God, that's such a good, beautiful teamwork goal.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that was the story of the first half. So I think we should move on to the second, just because unfortunately the game didn't end at 45 minutes. It ended at, what was it, 90 plus 6 or something like that. And
I'm with you. But I think it's worth mentioning that. And then what was it called? Just want to get other bits in there as well. We were winning a lot of the midfield battles was something I want to mention, which is something that we've kind of seen, but not to this extent against this good an opposition in that first half. What was it as well? And there was a lot of good opportunities. I think we'll get into some of the comments as you mentioned later on. But one player I want to mention, especially about that first half, that I think we mentioned Mavididi. I want to mention Vestergaard as well. I think he's really people mention Fast, and I will get onto Fast, especially in the second half. He was great. But Vestergaard, I think, deserves praise, especially with the way he managed his positional play, his man-on-man parking, getting the players out of the game, his ability to distribute the ball. He's looking, I think, people mention Mavididi going up again. I genuinely think that Vestergaard did the same thing in this game.
Yeah, he was super solid. I mean, as I say, I think defensively we were very good the whole game. Other than, I'm just going to have a look at the goal now again, and oh my God, it's just such a freaky goal. Oh my God. So there's
we'll get on.
It's unfortunate that you can see Vestergaard's reaction. He's just like, whatever, dude, whatever. I don't think there's much he could do. You know, it's just it's deflected of one.
It's gone
player,
down as an own goal for Vestergaard as well.
Whatever. It's deflected of Ricardo. He's then tried to put ahead and he's just headed it past Manson. I think the joke is it's probably going out of play. But I mean, I agree. I think he had a solid game, and unfortunately, he deserved a clean sheet, I would say.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then coming into the second half, again, I was wondering what to expect because we've seen teams start slow, but we started so well. Ipswich started on top, and they had the desire to try and win this game. So from the second minute in, they had a great chance. Again, the corner comes in, they head it over the bar, and I was like, right, we've got away with one there. We've got to learn from this. And kind of the story of the second half, we got away with an opportunity. We didn't take our opportunities. Ipswich just about got it away with it. Couldn't hit the target. Couldn't really finish. Where a good Premier League team would finish us off. I mean,
if you bring up the stats, Neil, I will say that the overall game, it kind of says that they definitely deserve to get something out of the game.
Yeah.
I don't think, as I said previously, I felt like in this game in the second half, it was stick or twist. And look at that. Look at our XG. That's so low. So I was going to say that in the second half, although we were like one touch away sometimes, I never really felt it looked like we were going to finish it off. And he took Wilfred Ndidi off quite early on at 55 minutes. Now, he'd just been booked. So I sort of understood it. It was probably like, okay, I need the ability for my midfielder to make another yellow if need be, because the way that this game's going. So I'll put Cassidy on. Then Dewsbury Hall came off and on comes Yunus. And then also Daka went off and Iheanacho went on. But the problem is that none of those three did better than the players. There you go. None of the players that they replaced, they didn't do better than them. And, I don't want to specifically have a dig at them, but there you go. So the players that they replaced, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall 7.4 out of 10, Wilfred Ndidi 7 out of 10. Patson Daka 7 out of 10. So you've literally made the team worse with those subs. That's what the stats say. And we've ended up conceding, and we probably wouldn't have done. But I get it. At the same time, I was kind of a bit surprised because Ipswich themselves made 3 changes pre-game from their previous match to rotate, and they made a lot of changes during the game too. So you do need to keep the team fresh, which is fair. But I think what that's showing you is that I think we have weakness in that number 8 position. I've heard again today that there is quite a bit of interest in that Albert Gronbach of Bodo Glimt. So I have a feeling we probably are going to sign someone in the window. And the main reason, I guess, is that Wilfred's going to go away and Castell's just not stepped in there. And I think the reason why they're probably going to look to sign is that I would imagine it's because Castell's not going to stay here next season. Wilf might. Dennis Pratt probably won't. So you're going to need, basically, you're going to need that player regardless, even if they're not first team. So they'll probably sign someone. But that's a bit of speculation. But I mean,
I think that's a good source. There's a player from Belgium. Duomo as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I was looking at him and looking at a video, and he looks like a cross between sort of Ndidi and Winks in the best possible ways. Like very good at playing out of trouble. Well, the thing is, Neil, and Matt O'Reilly of Celtic's also been linked. So the point is that they all have one thing in common. What's that thing in common? They're all progressive ball carrying midfielders that know how to finish.
They're good with their feet.
So so regardless of which one we sign, it might be none of those players. There's no smoke without fire. And what I'd also say with these players is that, do you know what I mean? They're not the sort of players that it's an easy one for a tabloid to write about. The easy one to write about would be who's out of favour at insert top club that they're going to join Leicester on loan. That's the easy story to write. When it's names like this, it's just that there must be at least an inquiry there. So, look, speculation can come into it. But I think then it is interesting because the game got scrappy in the second half, and I thought that might actually help us rather than them, but it didn't. It did seem to help them more than us, because we lost the ability to do that beautiful playing through and kind of control of the game because maybe we didn't get hold of the tempo. So I feel like the substitutions, the bitty nature of the game, they were going a bit more direct and physical. I think Connor Chaplin, he had a good game in the end. He had that driving shot that Mads made a good save, and then he had the audacity to try and chip Hermansen from like 30 yards out, and it didn't come off. But I always give respect to it. I know that he's been one of the best players in the Championship this season, so I felt he was quietly impressive, even though by his standards, that's probably a poor game. But he got there. And yeah, if you look at those stats, so in the first half, they didn't have one shot on target, but then in the end, they've had 19 shots and they had 3 on target. So all in the second half. So what happened in the second? In fact, I can have a look at my stats. So in the second half, yeah, they had 12 shots in the second half compared to 7 in the first. We only had in the second half 2 shots, none of them on target. I mean, you know, so was that intentional? I don't know, but that just feels like, you know, why it felt like we were playing so good. Yeah, you can mix it. That's what's really good about this site. You can mix up which halves they are. So as I say, it's a story of 2 halves. And then go to the first half stats again.
Let's go here.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. They had more XG than us. I wonder why that was. But I mean, yeah, I mean, look, that first half I think was really impressive. I felt they didn't have a sniff. We had all of the ball. If you go to the second half, I'm guessing they had more possession than us in the second half, or it must have been close.
Yeah.
Well, 50-50, that's not too bad. But yeah, I think I mean, look, the one thing I'll say is that like it's starting to get into a busy period now. It's like game after game after game. Players are going to get tired. It is still a high stress game regardless. And we're a bit unlucky that at the end of the day, that's a pretty lucky goal to score, right? So, you know, we're literally probably 1 minute away from it being another victory, and that'd be fantastic. So, yeah, I don't think we can feel too down. It's still an incredible start. I mean, you know, even if they're the one by a narrow goal. So I think that's another really good thing about our team is that, like, we are consistent and we play pretty good in every game, and there's still room for improvement. And when that room for improvement comes, we will be like the finished article. And I think it's all about getting ready for the Premier League now, you know.
And I think that's quite a good reason why I'm quite glad that we didn't win this game in that way possible, because we didn't get carried away. We didn't think, complacency was the reason why we didn't win the game. We could have managed. There was parts of the second half where I think about 70 minutes, we were playing it around the back. We were taking it. They were growing into the game, and we didn't control the game well enough. And you get punished, just like the Premier League when you play against a couple opposition.
Yeah, we lost control. We lost control. That is what it is.
We will not get away with this in the Premier League, and I'm glad it's the Championship for us to realise that. Not just for the players, and I don't think it's Enzo's fault specifically, but them kind of things need to be ironed out of the game. And that's why I was quite glad, because some of the times there was, and you mentioned the Ipswich that tried to lob a player. There was opportunities where our pressing was good, but we just lost the ball in stupid positions, and that's credit. And Ipswich capitalised on that; they bounced on it. And at times, in the first half, where our midfield was solid, our midfield didn't look as solid in the second half. Partly because we'll mention the substitutions, and we'll get into the comments because there's some great comments in there.
Let's go through them. Let's go. I mean, so that's the summary of the match. The summary of the match, I feel, is a game of 2 halves. Fantastic first half. Second half, we lost control. We feel that we lost control due to 2 reasons. One was substitutions, but one is also the team as well. And I think, to be fair, I don't think Maresca tells the team to like stop playing with control and start spamming the ball long. You know, maybe the team themselves are getting nervy and thinking they could do that. I do think we also have to say, so we just come on to it quickly, but Kiernan's Dewsbury Hall, that was a stonewall penalty.
We are going to come on to that. We are going to. I thought in real time.
It's the second half. Yeah.
But the thing is, people are mentioning the ref, and again, like people like comments like again, Sean just put in there, ref was shocking. Understand that. And it was, I don't know how they didn't see it, but we'll come on to that in just a second.
What I do want to say though is I don't want to use that as an excuse, because even with the penalty, it's not 100% guaranteed that you'll score. And then where were the other chances that we made that half? We weren't doing them. There was one other move that was really good where Iheanacho got it. He flicked it over his head and he tried an outside of the boot pass to Dewsbury Hall. And that almost came off. I was almost... Yeah, but it was quite a good attempt. To be fair, their keeper came rushing out of goals. In my chair, I got really excited. I was like, wow, that's such a good play by Iheanacho. Then when they showed it in a replay, they even said it himself. He should have put it on the floor and maybe instead of going for such a sort of flashy one, just done a bit more simple. But that was quite good play. I don't think that was bad play per se, but just there wasn't enough of that. And And that's what we needed to do. And as you say, I mean, yeah, what I will say is I think the defensive backline were making some really good challenges. All players were helping out. I mean, I remember seeing Fatawu put in a great block, but I was thinking, but why has the game got to this state? Why are we allowing them to do that? Like, we had it all set up, we'd quieten the crowd, and we just lost our heads a little bit. But look, it's a team coming together. I mean, I think the kind of thing of you saying, "Oh, I'm glad it was a draw." I think there's a solid amount of copium that you're injecting yourself into. That's clearly what you got for Christmas. But but at the same time,
I get that, but at the same time, it was more. Look, we can't get carried away. We get carried away with when we're playing well, and rightfully so. But games like this, when the opposition is there, if we got 3 points out of that, we're coming on going, look, I'll give you an example. Another example of this, we probably should have got a 1-1. Sunderland, we didn't. That was another game where we kind of let the game run away from us a little bit, and they probably should have got a draw out of the game but we didn't quite manage the game. This is the kind of thing where we've got to look at this and go, look, we conceded last minute. Why did we do it? The goal was coming, Anu. It was coming after a minute. There was opportunity. Again, the stats reflect that, but opportunity after opportunity, and we didn't manage the game well enough.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's the thing. And it was like hanging on. And I'll be honest, towards the end, I was just looking at the screen nervously, and I was doing that all the time. Come on. And I was just like, oh, come on. Just it'd be nice to get the win because it'd be such a good position. But yeah, overall, it's good. I mean, so there you go. I mean, there was another instance, which is that one of their players, he got booked. Maybe the booking was a bit unfair. But then like 2 minutes afterwards, he slams into another one of our players. And that should have been a yellow. So he should have had 2 yellows and gone off. And the referee bottled it. So, the ref has potentially bottled the red card there and the penalty. At the same time, we are saying, that there could have been a penalty against us of Cody getting a handball. So, as I say, I don't want to blame that. As you say, the reason that we've dropped points today is that we had control of the game and we lost it somehow. And we need to look at ourselves as to why that was. Was it fatigue? Maybe. I don't feel that they really pressed us so crazy though.
No. I think we did well pressing though. I think our pressing was something that I've been impressed with in this game more than others.
Impressive pressing, are you saying? But I'm here all week. But
here for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but you know what? I do feel again that then who are the best people at pressing in our team? And I bet 3 of those best pressers are probably Patson Daka, Wilfred and Diddy, and Kiernan Dewsbury Hall. So you take all 3 of them off, and is that why you lose control because you stop pressing as much?
And can't rely. And bearing in mind 2 of them off to Afcon in a bit, which we'll talk about in just a second. And some people have mentioned it in the comments. We'll just mention there. So
let's go through the comments. Come on, I think it's good time to do that.
As you mentioned, just on that same point again, trying to get to the points as well. Taking Diddy off in our biggest game, defending a 1-0 lead, I think is what you're mentioning. The fact that he was on a yellow and they didn't want to lose that. If he gets a red, then we're going, why did he take him off again? So I understand a little bit, but I was surprised. I don't know if Pratt was even on the bench. I'm surprised it wasn't Pratt that came on in that position because I think he would have managed the game. I was like, really, Cassidy? Was that kind of player? Draw for Ipswich. We bottled. Let's be shocking second up. I don't think it was shocking, but again, not worst result in the road.
Yeah, Pratt wasn't even on the bench, so there you go.
Yeah, I think Pratt would have been the right substitution for that, especially because they swapped. I think shout out to Luke. Luke spotted that they swapped in Diddy and Dewsbury Hall on opposite flanks as well.
Yeah, I mean, he could have put Hamza on. He could have put Hamza on and moved Ricardo up to the 8. I think that would have been a better move to do, in my opinion, because Hamza's going to give you that physicality.
Yeah.
And I know that they're sort of trying, because the thing is that in this game, funny enough, I don't think that they necessarily disrupted Ricardo and Harry Winks all that much. I actually felt that this was another one of those games where they looked most dangerous when we did like a brain fart pass. Right. But it wasn't one of those where we were making a brain fart pass because we were getting heavily pressured. Like, that's the difference. If you got 2 men up your backside and then you give a bad ball away, that's understandable. That's a thought, it goes, technically it's an unforced error, but actually it's a forced error if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
But when you've got like all the time in the world and you make a bad pass, that's just sloppy, I would say. So I'd say there's a bit of sloppy passing there that killed our momentum and attack sometimes. So what I'm saying is that maybe instead of Cassidy, we could have put Hamza on. I mean, clearly he's got a lot of trust in Cassidy, but yeah, I mean, it is getting to become an issue where, look, I don't want to dig him out, but it's just like, I want my team to go up. I don't really care that much about an on loan Italian
Not a loan
guy.
player.
Yeah. To be honest, even if he was a Leicester player, it's like, yeah, fair enough. I am up for that. But it's like, can we just like, make the right decision at the right time? There's been plenty of players, Dennis Pratt being a good example of there being players of obvious talent, but they haven't got a look in. So I wouldn't mind seeing someone come in that position, to be honest with you.
I didn't think of that as well, but putting Thingy in that position, putting Ricardo potentially as that high 8 as he's done before, and then pushing Hamza could have given you that physicality, but at times they weren't. That wasn't the area we were really losing the ball, which I think was good. Just getting into again some of the comments as well. We'll talk about Fast in a second because a lot of people have mentioned Fast again. Mentioned that as well. Again, thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. And if everybody could like, subscribe, we really, really appreciate it. We're trying to get to 2.5k before the end of the year. So every little subscribe and like really, really helps. Then again, I want to mention this is something that we mentioned later on as well. What was it called? Shows how's Daka today. We'll talk about him in just a second because I know that Thingy put a comment in there as well. Didn't deserve the sub. How was he? Didn't deserve the sub. I thought it was funny. There was another one I was going to mention as well. But coming into that, again, this was the one I was going to get. And I want to get your thought on Iheanacho, Daka, and now you say who would be the top striker going into probably the next game, since probably Tom Cannon's there as well. But in terms of your thoughts on Daka, Iheanacho, okay, what were your thoughts?
Well, we looked at those stats when we were going through the review, and I didn't know it at the time, but Patson Daka's pressing stats are absolutely ridiculous. And I think for that reason, I'm going to bring him up right now, but I think based on that, he has to be the first choice striker because, again, what we're saying about today is what's the common thread is we lost control of the game. Why did we lose control of the game? Because I felt that we impacted our own ability to press. And if you do that, you're going to. I tell you what, Neil. I've got it here. Can I present my screen?
Go for it. You can share your screen. I'll put it on screen.
Yeah.
But so in terms of again, Patson Daka and Iheanacho and things like that, let's put that one on screen.
Yeah, here we go. So here's Patson Daka. So, I mean, he literally in the top percentile for 4 different statistics, right? So in this pressing game, blocks, interceptions, and tackles, that's like elite. In terms of someone wanting to lead the press, that is as good as it gets. And what I'll do is I'll bring up Iheanacho in a second because you can literally compare the 2 players together. And the assist, he got another assist today with Mavadidi. So he's actually showing that what do you need for someone to do in our team? You need them to do those particular attributes. So now let's bring up Kelechi. Well, look at his pressing game comparatively. Now, to be fair, it's funny. He's almost got more of the profile of someone who's like an attacking midfielder, right? And this is not that much of a surprise, really, because, look at that. So this is like a really interesting chart, right? Now, you could actually say that like Iheanacho is much better at doing a lot more other things, right? But what are the things that we need him to do specifically in the team? For me, I've said that going into the season, Daka was the one that I would be more happy to go. And I was actually a bit disappointed that we didn't sell him to Bournemouth because I felt we could have done with the money and be like a clean slate. But last couple of games, even again today, the funny thing is, this has been the story a few times with him. I think his link-up play was really good. And actually his finishing was maybe what let him down a little bit. That he could have maybe been a bit more clinical there. So that's what I think there. Let me just bring up Jamie Vardy as well, because that'll be an interesting one to have a look at. Let's compare him to Patson. I mean, there you go again. So of the 3 players, the one that's clearly making the most defensive contribution, is Patson Daka. Make of that what he will. It depends, unless he really wants these other elements to be strong. So that would be my take on it anyway.
Fair enough. Getting to again, it's a really good point actually. I'd be interested to see what it does with Iheanacho and team, Patson Daka, and also Jamie Vardy coming back from injury. Whether we release him back into the team straight away, whether we did, and also bearing in mind both of them players we mentioned previously in the top of Jamie Vardy are going off to Afcon, which we'll talk about probably a little bit more in a second. We'll talk about probably towards the end as well. This is a good point as well.
Yeah, agreed.
In the first half, especially, Mavadidi and Fatal looked threatening pretty much from I would say not as much in the second half, but I think that's the way that Ipswich decided to neutralise them.
Well, as you say, they doubled up on them. They could see what the problem was. But then, if that's okay. But then as a team, if you're getting your wingers doubled up, it means there's going to be more space for the eights. So then why are we not feeding the eights? Then we've changed the eight and they haven't made the impact that they wanted to. So bit frustrating there all round. But yeah, we do have to say that. I mean, that's something he's got to look at. I wonder if what Maresca will think of his own decision making after the game.
We'll come into that in just a second. I think that just coming into this as well, sort of player that we mentioned Vestergaard already. People are saying Fast man of the match. I think Fast had a great some of the defensive work on. I think some of his work. I think in the individual moments when he was called upon, he delivered, especially in that second half. I won't say bailing the team out, but at the last ditch tackle, I think he was very, very good in this game.
I would have given him man of the match as well, to be honest with you. So I think that's a good shout. First half, I'd give it Mavididi, not just for the goal. I just thought his all-round play, you could tell he was terrifying them. But I think, given both halves, he didn't put a foot wrong, and he's really stepped up. And what's really impressive with him is a lot of people gave him man of the match in the Rotherham game as well. In that game, he played on the right side. This time, he's been moved onto the left side, and he's been man of the match there as well. And I think, I think it's another case of this system is suiting his play. I actually think earlier in the season, I didn't think he was particularly special. I thought he was all right. But again, sort of 5 to 10 games, I think he's gone up a level. And I think it's his attacking contribution that's adding a lot, but also the sort of ability where, because he's almost at times like a midfielder type of player, that I think it suits his game. Basically, he's more of a modern centre-back where he's maybe not as good as the old school classic defending, but his ability to play, even if not as good as a Winks or Ricardo, is still quite important and allows him to be constructive and add to the attack. Like I say, Man City, I think both Nathan Ake and Manuel Akanji are good examples of this. Of those are defenders who in some other teams and systems were blamed and struggled a little bit. But when they've gone to a team which is heavy possession and you're asked to use the ball and they're good with the ball on their feet, they actually look very good. Because they help out. It feels like you're cheating because you've got an extra man to help you build the attack. So, I think good shout. I'd give him that as well, personally.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that, again, he's adapted to that role well. And again, as you mentioned, he's not just playing the same position. He's playing in multiple positions, pressing into that midfield and joining in with those attacking players, not in terms of trying to get a pull and skilling, just being another passing option, being there. But also, I think the goal against the second goal, the first goal, second goal against Rotherham, he made that beautiful run in and was playing that's the kind of run that KDH would make.
Yeah, exactly. So that's obviously been worked on in his game, and I think that's impressive.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Getting into there. Thank you, Fata, for the raid. Again, appreciate it. Merry Christmas. Hopefully, again, Chelsea, we've mentioned Cassidy as well. Not looking good. No, things are looking even worse for you with the Chelsea things as well. So, yeah.
Do you know what? It's going to get to the point next season, Neil. Well, I reckon we might finish above Chelsea.
Literally. I think there is, considering the way we're playing, it might be my kind of hot take of the season. We're finishing with Man United or Chelsea because of the way that we're playing, and I think we're going to surprise a load of the teams with how we're playing as well. This one point is actually as well. I can't see the emoji, but in terms of the corners, do you think we're doing enough defending from corners? Because again, every corner, I won't say I'm as bad at it. Was like, oh my god, but I'm like, corners coming, we don't exactly know how to deal with that. And I think it's the same thing against Birmingham City early on.
I would disagree. I think everyone's got PTSD from the last few seasons when we've conceded so many goals off them. I mean, I know what you're saying, but at the end of the day, they didn't score today off a corner, did they? They might have had one chance where they put it over, but I mean, I think Vestergaard had one where he was not a million miles away. So yeah, look, I get it. It's just it's funny because a lot of foreign coaches, like Mourinho, used to say this as well. He used to say one thing he noticed about English football is how the crowd celebrates a corner like it's a penalty. Where in every other league in the world, they're not fussed because it's statistically your chances of scoring a corner are something like 1 in 35. Did you know that? So, that's why it was so bad we were conceding so many. So not really. I mean, I think it should be a cause for concern when it actually ends up in the back of the net. And right now it's not. So we should look at it. I think, to be honest with you, I would give Enzo quite a lot of credit for that. I mean, two things. One, overall, the defense is a lot better. And two, from set pieces, we're not conceding so many. Maybe the one thing you could say is that we have conceded quite a few goals now in the final stages of games. But today's like a fluke one, I feel. Even the Middlesbrough game, that's an amazing free kick. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I can really be like that brutal.
I wouldn't say I'm being like that. It's more to go, look, it's to kind of keep your feet grounded. That's how I'd see this. It's because we've gotten away with games. This is the kind of game where, again, the goal was coming. There was times, again, 77 minutes, we managed the game well for about 3 or 4 minutes. But then when we made the substitutions, KDH to Yunus, I like Yunus, and I think he's going to be a very, very good player going forward. I don't think he quite did it today. He didn't quite manage the midfield how we needed him to.
Well, you say that, but I think sometimes we have a bit, just because someone's like the shiny new thing that we want to do that. I think he's one of those players that I'll be interested to see if he does actually sign or not, depending what they've got. Because, like, to be fair to him, he was signed as a winger and he's not been used as a winger. So that's why it's maybe a bit unfair that we're judging him in a position that isn't supposed to be his. Again, this would add credence to the idea of wanting to sign a number 8. He also, to be fair to him, has not had what a lot of other players had, which he hasn't had a run of games in the team. No. Like even Daka got given now, what is that, 5 starts in a row. They actually had that statistic where they said none of the other Leicester strikers had started that many games in a row, believe it or not. So I think that shows you
rotated between Iheanacho Vardy the entire time.
Yeah, well, but that also says to me that, like, I think this is good about Enzo. He's not just picking players because they're his favourites. He is picking the players based on like how they're doing in training and how they're playing on the pitch. And it's like, if you keep delivering, you'll keep playing. That's why Vestergaard's kept his place. That's why Fast kept his place. That's why Ndidi's kept his place, etc., etc. That's why Fatawu got into the team. He didn't start as that player, did he? But he started in there, started getting his positions, and has been kept in the team. So what I will say though is that, yeah, like I do feel a bit sorry for Akgun, because I feel like Cassaday's been given starts and been given more of a run in the team than he has. And I do have a feeling that whatever position he's picked in, if he was given 4 games in a row, I think he'd look quite good. But at the end of the day, he hasn't been given
opportunities coming with Fatal going to Afcon.
Yeah. Or he might be used as the 8 slot, so we'll have to go and see. So let's judge him then. But for now, he does make some pretty passes. He's already got some assists. And also, it's maybe not that fair if he's coming on and his other midfield partner is Cassaday, because then they're both weak. It's like if he's playing with Ndidi or he's playing with Keane and Dewsbury Hall, it might add more to the kind of ability. Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
So I'm certainly not writing him off, but I'm saying that like it's. Yeah. Let's not, say that he's a fantastic player or anything like that. I think he's still unknown. I think even on the season review, we gave him a 7, and I even said maybe he should still get an NA. I think we can give him enough to give him the 7, but I think I want to see more of him. I hope he makes it. He looks like he's got something to offer, but we got to be a bit ruthless here, right? It's not here to carry passengers. We want to do well for the team.
I'm with you. And also, again, for those of you that mentioned again, the first link in the description, myself and over on Luke's channel from Box Down Under, did a whole 2-hour review where we looked at every single player. We looked at the manager. We looked at the tactics. We looked at so much. So again, as your kind of Christmas bonus present, make sure you go and check out Luke's channels after this as well. But going into again some of the comments and things like that as well. Is there much else to cover? Just because I think I'm just waiting for Enzo's comments at the moment, but I think we did well, and I'm really excited to see what we did going forward. However, there was something, again, the KDH substitution for Yunus didn't quite work out. Iheanacho substitution, I think people have been a bit harsh in the comments. I don't think this was it didn't quite work out there. And then
Well, just coming back to your point, Neil, like you said, and you're right, we should have touched upon it more in the first half, but our high pressing game was really good. Like they basically were struggling to pass it out the back. They kept giving it away, and we were then cutting through them with ease. And to be honest with you, even in the second half, when we looked dangerous, it's because we would press, get the ball back, maybe not as high up, but we'd win it back. And that's what I'm saying. Our back to front football is really, really good. That's really exciting. That is, that I'm doing coaching course and stuff like that. So, this is the big thing that is currently in vogue, and you know, everyone is now they're well, no, because football goes through cycles, right? Like it was possession heavy, then it was Gegen pressing. When we won the league, it was counter attack, and Mourinho went counter attack, and Conte went counter attack. So, you know, people thought that was the way to go. And now it's coming to this. So now what they're really teaching is that, you know, coaching plans and for players is they're trying to really help the young players in England get good at playing out from the back and playing with their feet, but also understanding like how to make better decisions, where to stand so that you always make an option. Like, you know, one thing I really like about our team is, you know, the way that like Vestergaard picks up the ball and Hermansen runs to make almost a secondary centre back, so you can always do it. And it's crazy because there was sometimes in the first half where Yannick played 230-yard on the ground sideways passes 10 yards from our own goal. And I just think if I did that when I was a teenager, oh my God, I would get absolutely castigated for that. You would be told that is just so risky. Why are you doing it? But actually, it's like the risk versus reward, and you're doing it because you're moving their block around and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think our high press was good. And, you know, that's maybe the question with Iheanacho is he does seem better at linking, but then he doesn't seem to run up. Like I'll say again, Patson in the first half, he really puts a lot of effort in and he sprints to make the ball up and stuff like that. And, you know, sometimes I remember there was a comment on Luke's channel that said, oh, but sometimes Patson, it feels like he's chasing shadows. But Vardy used to chase shadows as well. But sometimes he'd win a throw in off, or, you know, when it was going off for a throw and stuff like that. And it got the crowd going. And it's like, you know, especially when you do the combination press, it wins you the ball back. So, yeah, I do think that that's the thing that Iheanacho's got to work on. I feel maybe he's never going to get there. Like I've seen some comments there saying, you know, would you sell Iheanacho, etc., etc. I could see him going, put it that way. But I mean, if I'm being honest, I think the way that we play, and I'm not even using this of opinion, I'm trying to be objective here rather than subjective. So I think objectively, if I'm looking at the way that the team plays, I think the team plays best at the moment with Patson Daka. And I think the reason why we play best with Patson Daka is because his work rate and his pace suits the team better. I think when he's in the team, the high press is better, and that makes Leicester a better team. That's my opinion. And that, I think, has been seen not just in teams that have a low block, like when we played Rotherham, but when we played Birmingham and today Ipswich, they're teams that try and press you high. And he still looks their best striker in that system. And today he even linked and got the assist. So that's my opinion.
He links up well with Mavididi. I think I think what I put at half time, we create more opportunities, but we also miss more opportunities that we create. I think we need to be more clinical with our opportunities, but because of this, we are creating more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm with you. And also when you mentioned the way we're playing, and I'm with you. I think a couple of players want to mention Ricardo was getting in some really nice spaces away in that midfield. And the first thing, he wasn't driving, he was whipping the ball into Mavididi and creating that press. And Mavididi, again, without touching it again, looked electric at times. Yeah. But it started off from us getting the ball to Ricardo, and then so again, Ricardo's positional awareness, his ability to play other players into the game was fantastic in this as well.
Yeah.
So that's another one. Another good thing I want to mention as well, the way that we played, sometimes the way we played football and the ability to get the ball in dangerous positions and especially at that time, absorb the pressure. I think it was called playing in traffic, as Enzo likes to call it. I was impressed late on into the game when we didn't lose it, how we were able to break from that as well. We created some great opportunities. We just didn't finish them, but it all starts from the back. Vestergaard got some great ones. Atkin, I remember, had a really good opportunity. Cassidy, I think, had a really good opportunity where they get the ball, and instead of losing it, we were able to take that pressure out from the back by having it in possession and then play the ball across.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That's what is the most sort of like in demand thing in world football and coaching right now. And we're the best at it in the Championship. And there's not that many teams, even the Premier League, that are good at doing it. So I think it's great seeing it. I think one thing is important, though, is to have a look at certain teams who are trying to do similar sort of stuff and see how they're getting on. So actually, the best team who does it in the Premier League is actually Arsenal, to give them credit. Like I saw them going away to Liverpool, and they were like popping it around, and it was really impressive because obviously when you've got Mo Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold in your face, and you're turning around the corner and stuff like that. That takes guts. That's what to be honest with you, we've already seen it. Like there was that, I don't know if you've read that Athletic article, but Enzo actually says, what was your most important moment? And he says, believe it or not, the 4-0 defeat to Liverpool pre-season. And he said, because the first 20 minutes of that game, even though we ended up losing, we were outplaying them. And it's right. I remember you and I were like, we even said in the post-match, we were like, well, at the end of the day, we got battered, but the first 20 minutes is pretty impressive. Like for a team to get that good so quickly is pretty surprising. And I think that's why we've had such a strong start. So yeah, that ability to go back to front, it's called, is really great. And that's a skill if you can do that. And the great news about that, Neil, is that's only going to get better. It's not going to get worse. The only thing that can actually make it get worse is if you lose key players, right? But the thing is that it's a system. So I think it's no surprise that the players who are kind of, who the usual suspects are now, who are your first team players, which is Mads Hermansen, Yannick Vestergaard, Wout Faes, Harry Winks, Ricardo, Ndidi, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, Mavididi. These guys are always going to be in the team. Like, if they're fit, they play. And so the combinations between them are great. And so the players that are coming on, that's why they're not as fluent, because guess what? They're not playing in the match situation as much as the other guys. But it's just a matter of time. It's just a case of like, if you did 100 hours of football coaching and I did 50, and we were of similar talent levels, then I'm unlikely to be as good as you. But when I have 100 hours as well, then maybe I will have. Of course, by that time, you'll have 150 hours, so you'll still be better. But I quoted that thing in, actually, I don't know if I did quote it or not, but I said that Vincent Kompany says he thinks it takes 120 training sessions to get his idea of football. And that's just the idea. That's not even putting it into practice and being able to apply it on the pitch. So yeah, we should get better at that. And that's definitely the best thing about this team. And I think we should be encouraged and praised for doing it. And as we say, the only thing you've mentioned it a few times there, though, is that we're good at getting it back to front. But when we get it to front, we're not putting those chances away. If we did, we'll be absolutely battering teams, like battering them. So if there's one thing I said that they need to work on, if not now, in the summer, is that every one of them needs to practice finishing in the final ball. Like, actually, sometimes I think they overcomplicate it. Again, like if it was me, what I would practice is I'd be like, when you receive the ball, you do one of these 3 things, nothing else. It's very, very simple, right? And then when you get here, you finish like this. And when you get here, you finish like that. And maybe the good teams will work that out. But I think against a lot of teams, it'll make us clinical very quickly because you're going to make that opportunity, as been proven with Mavididi.
And you have to finish it. And I think at times that final ball hasn't been there, and the final put it in the back of the net hasn't. And like it was today, we touched on briefly the penalty. Again, clear penalty. I thought in real time it was a penalty. Saw it on the replay. I think even Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall has commented on it, going, "You've missed an absolute sitter there." I'm not going to try and get that one up there, but it's a good point. One thing I want to mention, and then Chris in the chat. So annoyed again. How can I be happy? We're not. I wouldn't say we're happy, but again, I'll say it's a lesson to learn, as you were mentioning, Anil. This thing is going to take time. It's going to take patience. Look at how long it took Arsenal to get it right. They were 15th at one point, and they were awful. I remember going away to Norwich singing when we played against them. You're going down with the Arsenal, because they were just so bad that season. But they again, it just picked and it turned around. We've done fantastically so far, but we are getting there, and it's going to take time to get that. But let's come on to the goal for the 1-1. It was coming in terms of the opportunity, because they were creating great chances. Ironically, that chance was crap from them, but you don't take your chances, you don't win. It bounced off Pereira's leg, then onto Vestergaard's head, and then put it in the deflection, puts it in the goal. Can't have too much to complain about it, but again, you give away opportunities, you let a team back into the game, they will punish you. And I think that's what you said. The fact they wasn't 2-0 at half time, then they go to 2-1, then they're slightly in the game for the next 10 minutes, like kind of the 3-2 against Birmingham City. But in general, you don't take your chances, you get punished, and we deserve to drop 3 points because we didn't get enough out of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, let's have a look at this. Say, look at again. Scott puts in. Look about Burnley. We're worried when I talk about that season. I think there's lots of different people will naturally compare us to Burnley. I think there's genuinely a lot of things that we're doing right. For example, I think our team currently in the Championship is better than Burnley's in the Premier League. I think the way that we've done recruitment has been done better. The way that they've got a lack of experience. They don't really have a specific style. That they looks like he's changed it a lot. And I think there's a lot of things that Burnley have done wrong and company has got wrong in the summer. I don't know if you agree, but I don't think it's easy to just go, oh, we're going to be like Burnley next season.
3 of Burnley's best players last season were the following: Taylor Harwood-Bellis. Who's he playing for now?
Yeah,
he's playing for Southampton. Their best player was Nathan Teller. Do you know who he's playing for? He's at Leverkusen in Germany. And the third one was Ian Maatsen, who's still at Chelsea, not really playing many games. So that would be like if we went up and who are our 3 best players? I think if we looked at the rankings, it was probably Winks, Vestergaard, probably Hermansen, I think. Right. So let's say that all 3 of those, we didn't have them and we had to replace them. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, unless you're lucky and you get replacements that are as good as, but then even if they're as good as, are they going to be as familiar as playing a system? So I think people are fair enough to have concerns there. But yeah, I think as long as we learn from our mistakes and we don't lose too many players, I think we need to come on to that as the next point, though, because that is, at Afcon at the end of the season, we are losing players. That's a fact. Then, I think we'll be okay. The other thing I'll say as well, though, is even though Burnley did so well, they had players like Josh Brownhill, who's a classic player who is known to be really good in the Championship but not good enough for the Premier League. But we've got players have proven themselves in the Premier League. I know we had a bad season. It was bad enough that we got relegated. But statistically, Wilfred Ndidi, at one point, people thought he was a £60 million midfielder. Right? Harry Winks played in a Champions League final. He was, 10 caps for England, not 1, 10. Right, he might still have more caps even than James Maddison. He's definitely got more than Harvey Barnes. So if we have Wilfred Ndidi, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, and Harry Winks in the Premier League, that is a Premier League midfield already, and it's not just like a Burnley level midfield or even an Everton level midfield. That's probably a who's 9th right now. Whoever's 9th, it's at their level.
Might be. Yeah, we'll have to have a look. But just in the meantime, while we have a look, we're going to throw a complete spanner in the works again. Chris, great to have you on, mate. I know you're absolutely fuming. But again, I disagree with quite like, for example, Hermansen being bad today and things like that. But feel free to take it away. I know you're in a bit of a ranty mood, but feel free to go for it.
All right, let's deal with Hermansen first of all. You said that. Not a top-class goalkeeper. Yeah, he's a good goalkeeper, but he's not top class. We know when you've got a goalkeeper that passes out to the opposition strikers 4 or 5 times a game, or decides to play it out to a defender who's got opposition players around him, is that a good goalkeeper? No. Oh, sorry, is that a world-class goalkeeper? No. He's all right. He's not one of our best players, and he's not a good goalkeeper at that level yet. He's only played 22 games, but, let's not big the guy up to be better than he is. He's, remember what Casper was like when we first got him, and he's certainly no Casper at the moment. He nearly got chipped again. How many times, he might as well go and get a deck chair and put it in the centre circle and sit on it and have his sandwiches and let's let players take pot shots at the goal. We are playing a lot of teams that are absolutely awful. I mean, Rotherham, yes, we played them off the pitch, but they're the bottom of the league for a reason. They were awful. And we are not finishing teams off. At 1-0 up, you made the point, we should be finishing teams off. And we have got players that are passing it around because this manager, and maybe this is why Palmer sacked him, I don't know, but a manager that's saying, play it around at the back, guys, you'll be all right. Yeah, look what it's cost us again. And this isn't the first time. This has cost us 3, 4, 5 times this season. If we play like that against a Villa or an Everton or a mid-table team in the Premier League, we will get stuffed.
But when we're still in the process of
No,
learning,
we've played 22 games. We've played half the season.
Yeah, and we're still there.
Than that.
It took. Look at the likes of Arsenal. How long that took? That took a year at a bare minimum for them to get right. The way we're playing, I disagree with you, Chris. I think with Hermansen, I think he's been great, and I think what he's done and how he's been playing for us, he's the number one keeper in the Championship for saves and distribution. I think he's.
I was going to say, do you mind me sharing my screen? I'd like to make someone eat some serious crow. So you can see.
How can you say he's good at distribution today?
He's brilliant.
Passes straight to the opposition.
Well, that's one game and one
it's not the only game he's done it in, though, is it?
To be honest with you, Chris, I hate to say this, but you're living up to the old man yelling at a cloud cliche, right? I think if you try and put emotion out of it and use objective.
No.
Well, but that's the thing is that, I remember one thing in the game. So this player's shit. That's an awful way to look at football. You should try and leave the emotion at the table.
No. Not once in the game.
Yeah.
A minimum of twice, 3, 4 times, 5 times. I think I counted where it was either went straight to an opposition player or it went to a player that was being marked heavily. And it is not just this one game. It's happened 4 or 5 times. He got chipped today. That could have been a goal.
It wasn't a goal, though, was it? And if we look at the stats, he's literally plus or minus. It means he has saved the most or prevented the most goals of any keeper. Yeah, but we are in a Championship, Chris. We're not in the Premier League last time I checked. When we are in a Premier League, perhaps that'd be a conversation, but we're not. That's like me saying, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall's crap because he wouldn't get into the Real Madrid team. Well, he's not playing for Real Madrid, is he? He's playing for Leicester City. So I think that's a pretty unfair criticism. And I'll remind you that our team at the moment has made the best start in Championship history ever. Literally no other team in the history of football in 135 plus years at the Championship or Division 2, it was known back in the day. No team's done better. Yes, maybe we have the best squad, but you can only do what you do, and we have.
So does that mean then that because we've made that start, that we can't say, well, we've been shit today?
We didn't say that. We said it was a game of 2 halves and that we probably dropped points.
Yeah, but how many times have you said that this season?
Quite
Sheffield Wednesday was a game of 2 halves.
Yeah.
I think we were crap most of the game, to be honest, in Sheffield Wednesday.
We've scraped past teams. We're 3-2 up against in 2 games running, and we concede goals late on. I mean, it's Brendan Rodgers come back into the managers.
That's completely unfair, Chris. Because considering
what
we've
done... hold a minute. What happened to Leeds earlier today? They beat Ipswich 4-0. So they're going to win the treble, right? Oh, hang on a minute. No, they lost to Preston North End, who we beat.
And maybe, just maybe, we are a victim of our own success. And if we weren't doing so well, that would have been seen as a good point. But in that time, we should have killed that game off.
But coming into this game, Chris, would you not have taken a point?
But that hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it?
It's an interesting point that if I was to give you a point and go, look, let's forget the game. I'll give you a 0-0 draw, give you a 1-1 draw. And it's not like we hung on for dear life. We played, we got stuff wrong.
Oh, that goal was coming. That goal was coming.
Oh, 100%. And you'll see on this, we've said that, I'll probably title it, it was coming. I think I've said to Andal multiple times, I think within this, we had it coming. But the thing is, that was because we're still in this process of learning. We will get out of this eventually. And at times, it wasn't like they were completely steamrolling us the entire time. We made sure to get into good positions.
How many times?
We couldn't finish off our chances as well. Yeah. If we could finish off our chances, we lose 3-1, 4-1.
And I said to Kate, who does the game with me, she goes to the games and watches it. And I said to her, okay, how many times and how much longer are we going to be using this excuse?
But Chris, that's so unfair. I can tell you how many times. 5 times, because Leicester have only dropped games in the league in 5 games out of 25. So is that really a lot? I don't think so.
We have been lucky.
Well, but at the end of the day, you can get lucky either way. We should have got given a penalty today. It wasn't given. That was a bit unlucky, I would say. They could have had the man sent off. That was a bit unlucky. I mean, we could have given away a penalty ourselves, so that was lucky in our regard. You can't just say this. It's just so sort of like picking and selecting. Like, I don't know what you want to say. Well, let's go the other way. Yeah, you're right. Leicester were complete shit. Let's sack Enzo. It's crap. 59 points after 24 games. Rubbish. This guy's worse than Brendan Rodgers. Get him out. Let's bring in some guy that just plays it long the whole time. That's much better. That's what we want to see. Get real. That's not the case, is it?
No, and I know I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But
sorry to be angry. I know that you're actually just doing it just to make for some spicy conversation, and you've absolutely succeeded. So this is the reason why his channel is smashing it. By the way,
would I do that? Would I do that? You know, but,
it's a warm big plug for Leicester Till I Die TV, which you can find in the time.
Yeah, it's a great channel. I listen to all your stuff.
I'll say this though. I mean, had we been 1-0 down, and we'd have equalised, I would be screaming from the rooftops how fucking wonderful, excuse my French, how wonderful we were. Of course I would. Of course I would. And yes, I play devil's advocate here. And yes, I am annoyed. And how I will feel tomorrow when I've slept on it. Yes, I would have taken the point at the start of the game. Of course I would. But we have to look at, and I'm sorry on this, I have to look on the fact that we have been holding on in a lot of games. When we have been in a couple of games recently, 3-1 up, and we've let them, come back in at 3-2. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be killing teams off. We're not killing teams off, but we are making the same mistakes again. Hermansen, yes, and I'll give him credit. He made a bloody brilliant save in that second half to keep it at 1-0. But he is making the same mistakes every single game. He's playing out to opposition players.
We don't think he is. If he was, we'd be slating him. But we've learned the mistakes.
Yes, because we've been lucky. We've been lucky. Go on, you've got to admit, Neil, there has been games when he's at least once kicked the ball to an opposition, or he's kicked the ball to a player that's been defended, has been marked by two opposition players.
Just to step in here, the thing is with that is if you look at the very best keepers in the world who play that style, they do similar things. So the next time you see Man City play, have a look at how many times Ederson does that. They won the treble, by the way, with him in goal. Look at Liverpool with Alisson, how many times he does it.
I don't watch other teams.
Fair enough, but the point is that like I get what you're saying, but the thing is that basically every season those type of keepers, even the world-class ones, they will make probably 4 to 5 mistakes that result in a goal because they're told to play that way. Even the best in the world. That's like saying even the best strikers
from Southampton doing it a lot of time in the season, and we were looking at Southampton going, what on earth are they doing? Now look at them, 16 unbeaten now. I think they've got the best run in the championship.
Well, it's like Haaland even misses goals sometimes, right? Even the best striker on the planet. So it's the same with the keeper. So I get it. Maybe the point is he shouldn't, because you're right. He definitely made, there you go. That's what Chester's saying. Because there was one time in the first half where I know exactly the point you're making, where he tried the curled pass to Wout Faes, and it was a terrible pass. It went straight to Wes Burns, and it played us right into trouble. We got out of it. But equally, a lot of times he'll be making the ball that set up an opportunity right away. So it's like risk versus reward. And to be fair, I don't know if you heard us talking about it earlier, but there was also like Yannick Vestergaard in the first 10 minutes. He played a sideways pass. He was only 10 yards in front of the goal, 30 yards on the floor. And yeah, that is 10 years ago, you would be saying, you as a coach, you'd blow the whistle and I'd be like, Neil, what the F are you doing, mate? Right? You can't do that. Whereas now the game has changed and personality. So it's fair. And you definitely make a point about what happens if, will the best teams catch us out in the Premier League? But I will say that actually the very best teams in there we go. Okay. Let me just say, I feel your pain, Scott. I can give you some other stories. I'm sure the others will as well. But I would say that the best teams in the world right now, they're playing out from the back. Like Villa, I know today they've actually lost, and I wonder if some of the goals they conceded were for playing out from the back. But equally, it sets them up with a lot of chances. And like Emery is even more crazy because he plays a high line and he gets them to play out from the back. So sometimes the ball gets passed in retirement and they just look like schoolboy. It just looks like the stupidest thing you've ever seen. But statistically, they're winning more games than they're losing. So,
Southampton, when we played them, the exact same reason. When we played them, I was like, this is stupid. This isn't working. And even the Southampton fans are going, what on earth? They were booing every time they got the ball and they were playing suicide football. But they're actually the best informed. They've come from, I don't think nowhere, but they've come on a brilliant run over the last few games.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, as I say, guys, look, you're right. I know you're right, and I'm you know, a lot of this, my tongue is firmly planted in my cheek, you know, and don't get me wrong, it creates discussion. But no, look, 59 points, whatever it is we've got at the moment. Number one for Christmas, number one for New Year. I mean, you know, most goals scored, best goal difference. You couldn't want a better start, could you? Really?
Well, what, Chris? What are your like top three then kind of things that concern you about the team going forward? That I'd be interested to hear.
Okay, my top three concerns is, and don't get me wrong, I agree. We you know, playing out of the back. I don't agree with it, but I agree that that's how we play.
Don't worry about that. That can be a concern if you want. I'm just like, give it to me straight from the heart. Like the things that when you go to sleep, you're like, you're thinking about Mads playing it out from the back, and you're like, I don't like it.
Mads playing out from the back. No. Defend. I can give you more than three. Defenders playing those shots across the goal. You know, from one side to the other. Mads being 3/4 of the way up the pitch, almost in the middle of the centre circle. Hang on, you've brilliant put me off now.
No worries. You can come back.
It's the simple things, like how many times in a game do we give the ball away? You know, short, simple passes that we can't find our own player. That said, the opposition.
That's why I think we dropped the points today. Actually, exactly that last point.
The opposition do it as well. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's not just us, but it is. You know, you're thinking like, you know, hang on. You know, do we know that we've changed? That we're not playing in blue today? You know, it's why we're passing it to Ipswich. And you know, it's those simple things, like you say. 10 years. I used to manage my kids, my son's, you know, team when he was like, you know, 10 and 11. And you know, don't give if you can, you know, just keep this ball. So make sure you're at least attempting to pass it to somebody in the same colour shirt, and certainly don't pass the ball across in front of the goal from one side of the pitch to the other.
But it's changed as well. The football, the way that we're playing football, the way that the industry. For example, you could say that a lot of the old guard is being moved out in terms. If you look at the Championship now, where it used to be before, what your Tony Mowbray's. What am I thinking of? The Sunderland manager, then the other guy, Tony Pulis, and things like that. A lot of them old guard, if you're looking manager-wise, are being moved out of the game. The new breed is coming through with this new modern style, which some people, and I understand it again, it's tricky to get hold of, and that's what they want to do. They wanted to move it to this newer style, and it's just the way the game is going with this inverted fullback. You could go the old school style of, again, 4-4-2, but it isn't something that is just played nowadays. And I think Anna was mentioning it, the fact that it was the Mourinho era, the Ranieri era, there was the Conte era, was the same thing, where there was the counter-attack era. Now we're playing in this new era of what Guardiola has spawned from this. Guardiola, you've got Company playing the same way. You've got, what's it called? De Zerbi now is one of them. You're mentioning Emre is another one. You've got Arteta as part of that. Ten Hag is part of that. This is the new era that's coming in. And then you've got players like Alonso over at Leverkusen doing a fantastic job there. You've got other players doing that kind of, this is the new era of football. And that's kind of where we are at the moment. And I think there are going to be hiccups but considering what we've done and the players that we've got and the formations we've played and who we've played, I think
can I just jump in here, just because like looking at the fixture schedule though is absolutely crazy. We're playing on Friday. That's our next game.
Really?
On Friday.
All the games are on Friday.
Yeah, and if that wasn't enough, we play 2 days after Friday on Monday, again at Huddersfield. So look at that. There's almost no time to recover. So this is going to be kind of crazy, to be honest with you, because I asked Chris what his main concerns are. My main concerns are that I think our players are just going to be knackered. And the problem is that the players that have come on, they're not as good as the players that start. And so therefore, I think it's likely we're going to drop points. To be fair, I think it's also likely that all the other teams in the Championship are going to drop points as well. So as Ant said, actually 16 over 18 in Christmas is pretty good. But yeah, I mean, looking at who, I think he'll probably start the same team again. He'll probably go for a similar tactic of trying to freshen it up after 60. But yeah, I mean, I could easily see us dropping points in the next 2 games, not because we're not necessarily good, but just because when the performance level is dropping, everyone, that's when you make mistakes. And you're going to probably pick up some injuries too. So, yeah, that is my slight concern. Like,
Should he
I think,
therefore, do you think, have made more substitutions today?
maybe this one's a tough one because you're playing against literally the second best team in the league. So, I mean, if we're being honest, we were saying earlier that we felt he made 3 key subs, which was Daka for Iheanacho, Iheanacho for Daka, then Casadei for Ndidi, and Yunus Akgun for KDH. And none of those subs did particularly well. And we probably lost the game because those 3 subs, when they came on, they weren't as good as pressing that we were pressing before. And that meant we lost control. And because we lost control, it meant we kept giving the ball away. And that meant they kept making more shots. And that's why they ended up getting an equaliser. And as Neil says, and as you yourself said, it was coming because you could see that was the pattern of the game. So if we'd have made more subs, maybe we'd have conceded early and we might even have lost the game. I don't know. It's a good point, though.
And
I mean,
who is available? Hamza Chowdhury, potentially Callum Doyle just come back from an injury. You look at the bench, there is Stolarczyk. There isn't really a lot to go around at the moment.
We're going to have to play, though.
Do you know what happened to Pratt today?
He was just
No, what happened?
no, he's
No,
not.
he wasn't in the. He wasn't in the squad.
Yeah,
no.
that's. I thought you were going to say he got injured or something like that.
No.
No, he wasn't. No, wasn't even in the squad. No.
There wasn't. The majority of players that we've got are defensive-minded players, and that wasn't the problem. So Suter.
Well, you say that, Neil, but I mean,
Doyle.
as per Chris's point, though, it's like it's about keeping players fresh. So I mean, I think you could make a strong argument that it doesn't matter if you replace someone either like for like or even with a more defensive player. Like we were 1-0 up. It's more about energy. It's more about keeping the team fresh. Because what I'm saying is that if we have to play in 3 days' time, right? Everyone's human, and we play a system that requires you to do a lot of work off the ball and press the team. So if you're tired, you're not going to be as good as pressing. And if you're not pressing as much, then you're not going to win the ball. And then our whole entire system and its entire design isn't going to work. And then we're going to look bad. Because when did Leicester look at their best? They look at their best when they are winning the ball high up the pitch, turning it over, doing that beautiful one-touch passing and scoring. So we're going to have to start using our subs. And what I'm saying is, that's my fear, is that I think we're going to lose some fluency. What are the fixtures after that? We got then the FA Cup, that I'm sure will just play the B team, so whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the Huddersfield Town one, then it's actually quite a big break until the Coventry game. And we could just play like a weaker team in the FA Cup, which personally, look, I love the FA Cup. If we got far in it, then I'd have changed my tune. But I think this season's all about promotion. So, maybe that's the one to just literally give everybody the squaddies a game. Actually could even build fluency from the players that are coming in. But yeah, it worries me that you've got these 2 rapid fire games quite quickly. Cardiff are in quite bad form. The Asian Cup is coming up. That's Harry Suter.
But Harry Suter, that's it.
Yeah, he's played 5 minutes or something all season. So
yeah,
probably.
Can I ask you 2 guys your opinion on Daka? I mean, he's coming out from the cold, hasn't he?
Yeah, we touched on it. We actually really like him, and we think that he should be the starting player. And the reason is we were bringing up the stats, but if you look at his defensive contribution in terms of pressing, it's incredible. He's the best striker in the division at doing it. So the funny thing is sometimes when he plays, he still has the same old issues that Daka has, that he sometimes doesn't have the best first touch, or he makes the wrong decision in the final third. But to leave emotion out of it, it does look like the team plays better when he's playing. So he's doing something right. And the thing that he's doing right is that he's pressing so well. And he's like Neil made the point that Mavadidi's playing a lot better since Daka's been in the team. And I don't think that's a surprise, because I think it means he's been getting the ball more because he's been winning it. He got an assist again today. So yeah, I would just be, and I think they had a stat on Sky where they said that Daka is the only striker to have started in 5 games in a row for Leicester this season. Neither Vardy nor Iheanacho has done that before. So I think one thing that we said about Enzo is that he clearly doesn't have favourites, and he'll play the player that's doing what's asked of him to the best of their capability. And I think he's doing that so far. And yeah, I think it's fair enough where someone said that taking Daka off was a mistake. And I think that, to be fair, he was given a full 90 minutes in the last game. So maybe that's the reason why. But to be honest with you, I do feel that was a mistake, because Iheanacho, when he came on, it was notable how he wasn't getting anywhere near as close to the strikers and defenders as Patson Daka was, and that does make an impact.
I think I've got to give credit to Enzo here that look at the stats there, in Daka's, for the minutes played per goals. But I think the fact that it would have been very easy for him to have dropped Daka when Iheanacho was fit again, because you look at the fact that it was Vardy, Iheanacho, Vardy, and Daka had to come in. Yes, he's taking his chance, but we know, don't we, that we've seen managers in the past that have said, well, my favourite's back, let me stick him in. And he stuck with Daka, and it paid off.
Yeah, I mean, look at how often Yuri Tillemans was used last season, and it was so frustrating when he clearly wasn't running for the ball and he was pulling out of challenges because he knew that he wanted to get his contract for the next season. And it's like, come on, like we're always going to be thankful for the FA Cup final goal he scored and many other performances. But at that point in time, his heart wasn't in it. He wasn't there. A good manager's got to take him out of the team and put someone who does want to be there, who's going to fight for the shirt. So, yeah, totally agree with you there. It's a shame that he will be. So let's just quickly touch on it then, right? We've very soon got the Afcon. And today, players that started, Wilfred Ndidi started, Kelechi Iheanacho came on. So Wilfred Ndidi started, Patson Daka started, and Fatawu started.
Yeah.
So we expect all three of those to go to African Cup of Nations. And then one player that came off the bench was Kelechi Iheanacho. So that's 4 players going to go off. So that's 4 players, and there's still quite a big fixture congestion in January too. It's a brutal championship, the division. We know this. So how the hell are we getting out of this one, lads? That's my question to you.
Casey McAteer. I think Casey McAteer is going to come in. I think that Eunice is going to be a big part of the role. I'm really interested to see what Tom can, and this is sink or swim moment, in my opinion. This is, I won't say make or break him because he can recover from this, but this is where we're going to have to throw him into the deep end of the pool and go, right, we've got you. We have to make the most of this now. I don't know what you thought, Chris.
My fear is we're going to have Angry Chris back on the channel, and this time Angry Chris is going to be correct. And he's going to be like, I told you not, and you didn't agree with me, and I was the prophet. And
Are you on about Cannon now?
Not necessarily him, but I just think that... I'll let you talk. You go, Chris. I don't want to talk.
For Cannon, look, I think it's unfair to judge him at this point because we've not really seen enough of him to see what he's capable of. It reminds me very much, when we first signed Kelechi. He was getting 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. How can you, judge somebody when they're only playing that? And Kelechi just, he got into his stride once he started getting more minutes. And I think I heard, because I was finishing my own stream off, and I think I heard when I first came in, you made the point, I don't know if you were talking about Cody or not, but about being ring rusty. That these players, when they are thrown in and have to play a full game, at the start, it took Cody, and he had a decent game, but at the start, you could see, because he hadn't been playing the minutes, you could see he hadn't quite got that touch. Some of his passes were too heavy or just off slightly. And if you're not playing regularly, and I thought that Enzo was going to be rotating this squad quite a bit, but we do seem to see the fact that we know now you could almost pick your starting 11, couldn't you? Every game. And I don't know if that's such a good thing or not.
Well, we have the squad to rotate. The problem is, are they good enough? And I think you haven't got the opportunity now. We have to be good enough. And with the games coming thick and fast, we can't just go, right, we're going to have our 11. And when we tried to change it against Sheffield Wednesday, it didn't work. It really didn't work. Yeah. So I think we just need to trust. And I think things will come good. But it's time where we're going to go, Enzo's going to work his magic and we'll see what happens as well.
And also, in fairness, and I said this on my channel, because I had a bit of a rant on there as well, I think it's better to be ranting about the fact that we've just dropped 2 points and we're still top of the table than it is to be ranting about the fact that we're stuck in the bottom 3 and we can't get out. The rants that we're doing this year are a hell of a lot better than the rants that we were doing at the end of last season.
Healthy, let's say that, rather than last year, which was like, I nearly gave up doing content a couple of times. I'm like, what do I say? It's just the same problem again and again.
Yeah. No, totally. And look, I know I ranted when I came on, but it's just the little things. I think if you're going to be playing at the top of the championship, things like being able to kick a ball out, not to straight to the opposition, or pass balls to your teammates. It should be, or not pass balls, across the 6-yard box. These should just be staple things that they should be getting right.
Yeah, and I think again we will get it right. It's just these little bits that need clicking.
Well, I just want to give the one word of caution again. I'm just going to head off as well, but I will just say I do think that the next month is going to be a bit rough because I think there's a lot of fixtures. We're going to be losing players. So that means a lot of players are going to be coming in. Chris just said it there. They're going to be ring rusty. So personally, that would be, I would say, I think we might need to be a bit more forgiving because I think you're going to see a lot of this problem repeat itself. And I think there will be some frustrating performances. I think you will see either, if not both, dropped points and or poor performances. I think when some of these players get a few games in a row, then I would like to hope that by the time we hit the start of February, what I've just said there won't be true because we'll have picked up a bit and there might be one or two players that are like, oh, wow, now that Eunice is in the team, I can't see him coming out. Or insert player here. It doesn't have to be him. It could be any one of a candidate. But I think in the meantime, yeah, I would just hold on to your knickers a little bit is what I'm saying because I basically I can't see how it's not going to be. I mean, because we have got that first team and a lot of that first team is going to be disrupted and or tired. I think it's going to be a bit rough.
Somewhere that we've got more players out to Afcon than our sort of main competitors put together.
Yeah, Southampton haven't got any. I'm just looking at their squad. So that's what I'm saying is that, look, it's good that we've built up such a lead. And what I'm saying is it wouldn't surprise me if that lead gets cut into a bit. But I do think that then we'll go on the run when we've got everybody back. So it's not like it's a massive...
At least we've got the lead to get cut into, haven't we?
Yeah.
Considering where we are, you look at the likes of Southampton, who are on a great run at the moment, I'd still be worried going... Yeah, but we're not going to get into the top two. And if we don't, we've got Leeds, we've got West Brom, we've got Sunderland to try and play in the bloody playoffs. That is not an easy playoff. And then you've got Hull just on the bridge of that as well. Bristol City have come from, I didn't even notice where they've come from as well. But if I'm Southampton, I'm going, there's 5 points to them lot above us. And then another 11 points to the people above for automatic. So even Southampton, as good as they had an awful start to the season and were dropping like lead, and now they've started to just build the momentum coming into it.
Well, so look at that table. That's the championship in a nutshell. Coventry City, who are 13th, are 3 points off being in a playoff position.
Yeah,
mental.
Scroll down. I bet there's more teams that are on that point tally as well. Yeah, there you go. So Middlesbrough, the same, right? So that's the thing in this. It's what Steve Cooper did when he was in charge of Forest. They were bottom and they ended up getting promoted, didn't they? It's just like if you win 5 or 6 games in a row in this division, you go absolutely flying. And that's the same with us. So, and it's funny, you showed that, but in the last 5 games, our form table is still better than Southampton. So even though they've been on a great run, we've been on in the last 5 games, we've been on a better one.
Talking about a great run though, do you think, and every team has a bit of a dip in form, has a bad period, do you think we've still got hours to come, or do you think we're going to be able to...
I think ours is coming now. That's my word of warning. And the reason I'm saying it, though, isn't because, like I said, I think it's a bit out of our control. I just think because we're going to lose players, it's natural to expect it. They might sign some players to try and cope with it. But yeah, like I say, if you're losing some of your best players, and we've literally seen already that when some of them go, we're not as good, I think we might do it. But I don't think it'll be as bad as when we lost the 2 games in a row. But I do think we'll see more draws. And put it this way, I think out of every 5 games, I would expect us to drop points in at least one of them. And I've got a feeling that might continue even up till March or something like that. Now, for what it's worth, that's kind of what Leeds have been doing at the moment, or even Southampton. It's like the standards that are being set this season are so insane.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, we won 9 games in a row, right? When teams are doing that, it's really hard because any mistake you make, you're getting punished hard. But now I think just because of that, that'll be the likelihood going forward. But that's more than good enough. It will concern me if we're dropping points in 2 out of every 5. Then we'll probably still get up, but it is a little bit. It might go down to like final day or something like that. So yeah,
we'll have to see, and we're going to finish up because it's been an hour and a half now. But Chris, again, thank you so much for joining. Feel free to plug away your stuff as well. I'll leave a link in the title for you, but feel free to plug away as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, guys. Thanks for letting me rant. My counsellor said it's good to get it off my chest. It's at well, you can see it there at Leicester TID on Twitter. But basically, if you stick in LTID TV in any of the social media accounts, you should find me. And to give this channel some support as well, guys. It's a great channel. It's an absolutely great channel.
If you refresh the stream, it will be the top link in the title. So make sure you go up to that. Also, as I kind of mentioned as well, again, thanks again, and I know appreciate it's been an hour. It's the longest one we've ever done, longer than the actual match of football, ironically, that we've actually spent commentating on it.
It's not as good as the ongoing war that is Brad versus Chris on LTID, though. I've got to say that's still my favorite. The predictions league is just the most hilarious thing. The banter that you guys have.
Don't mention that. I'm not a good.
And just before we finish as well, just a final one. If you 41 people that are watching, thank you all again. If you'd like, follow Chris, and just final one as well. If you want to go over to Luke's channel, which will be the first link in the description, we did a half-season review. So again, we went through every single Leicester player, how well they did this season. Full 2 hours for those before Christmas. We'll see everybody for the of course of time. The Cardiff game at post-match after that. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And anything you want to plug as well before we finish?
No, thanks for having Chris on, a welcome guest. Hopefully see you again. Take care, guys. And we will see each other before the new year, so I won't say happy new year just yet.
All the best, everybody.
All the best, guys. Thanks a lot.
See you later. Bye.